Hello, my name is OTTERRAK, and today we are going to be working on the Holy Grail of props. The Holy Grail from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It is an utterly iconic movie prop that everyone knows what it is. That's the point. Everyone knows what this prop is. And what I would like to do is see if I can't get an accurate representation of it. The first thing we need to do is we need to get the thing printed, which if you have a 3D printer is pretty simple thing, as long as your printer is completely and totally locked in and set up correctly. Once we get it printed, we move on to sanding, and sanding sucks. Sanding is awful. I hate sanding. It is boring, but you know what? It needs to be done. Interestingly enough, this is the one time where I shouldn't have. I have a few pictures here of the Grail that was in Julian Glover's private collection that was sold in July of 2020. And this Grail was a prop replica made by PSM, which, if I am correct, is the same makers that made the original Holy Grail prop that was used in the movie and was given to him pretty much as a gift for being one of the key members of the cast. It was molded completely out of clay. It was painted by the original creators. In the movie, Julian Glover's character, he turned into a complete skeleton.
He chose poorly.
Which brings me to the reason I brought that up to begin with. If you look at the pictures of the cup, it has layer lines. If you yourself are making this 3D print, I would not sand it as much as I did. I would keep the layer lines because it adds to the effect of what the original had. Now that we're all 3D printed, sanded, primed, layer lines filled in more than we really want, it is time to put on a coat of gloss black. Gloss black is always a good policy when you are putting shiny. Shiny chrome needs gloss black. Always will, always has, always will. So good practice, gloss black. Then we're gonna put on the chrome because we need a nice base coat to put our gold, especially on the inside of the cup. Now, when I did this, I did the whole cup. I would not recommend doing the whole cup because it was unnecessary. The outside is a clay reddish brown, which isn't important at the moment because we are going to work on the inside of the cup. We need a nice gold. And if you've watched my video on C-3PO's head, I used a technique that was used by Gordon Tarplay, which I love. I tried it on that. It worked amazing. So I am going to use that on this cup also, at least on the inside. And that technique consists of an ounce of varnish, 6 drops of yellow McCormick's food coloring, and 3 drops of red McCormick's food coloring, which I might have overdone the red on this because once I got it painted on, it wasn't good. It was way too orange, which is important with this type of stuff because you never know when it's gonna be too much, too little. And I was just lucky here that I could peel off that coating that I put on and redo it again with a lot more yellow in the mixture. And I might not have had quite an ounce of varnish. So, I mean, it's a ratio. It's always a ratio. And the key is to finding the perfect ratio, like anything else with this type of stuff. But that's how it goes. That's how the cookie crumbles. Now it's time to get that brown. We need some burnt sienna and some black cherry. And we are gonna mix this in such a way. We're gonna do mainly burnt sienna and then a touch of the black cherry. And we're gonna get that all nice and mixed up so that we get a clay looking color. And I always put Windex in my paint mixture instead of water. I don't know. I like it. It gives it the ability to go through my airbrush better. And we just toss that stuff right into the airbrush and start applying it. And like I said before, I should not have put chrome on the outside because I was just going to put a matte clay brown on it. So why on earth would I have thought that that was a good idea? I don't know. I thought it was, so that's what I did. But thin layers is the way that you go with an airbrush. It's how I go. Nice, smooth, well-maintained layers so that when you're done, you have a beautiful, consistent clay color going over the entire prop. So now that we have that color all consistent and wonderful, I thought the most important thing to do was to put Tester's dull coat over top, because acrylic paints and the rub and buff that I was going to use as the gold on the outside would not mix well together. So dull coat over top, protective layer from the acrylics. And I'm an idiot. I completely forgot to hit cord. It's a little embarrassing. But rub and buff, that's where that gold is coming from. Kind of put on, kind of rubbed around with your thumb, rag, just enough to get it to be the look that I was going for. I thought it was important to take the sheen off of everything. The dull coat didn't make anything shinier. It just still had a touch of a sheen more than I wanted to. These are earth tones. Dirt is not shiny at all. So I also thought that this is older. This is an old thing, 2,000 years old, antiquing gel. Might as well just toss that stuff on there, call it a day, throw it on to the gold to kind of give it some aging effect. And I really think it did a good job. And this stuff, it's more of a see-through type of stuff. It puts a little bit of an age on it, and that's what I was going for. So that's what we're doing with it. Now, if we take a look at our reference photo again, there is a gray mold. That's the only word that I can put for it. There's a gray mold on it, on the outside of the grail. It's been sitting a long time. It's clay. Of course, there's gonna be like maybe a salt buildup. Maybe it's not mold, salt buildup, but it's in the reference picture. And if these are the guys that made the original, the one that is seen in the movie, I guarantee it's in there. So we have to put it in. You can hardly tell in the movie that it's there, but we have to put it in. So my thought was to put 3 different colors together. So I used slate gray, snow white, and medium gray, not mixed together, kind of in a marbling effect in my glass itself, and started tapping that stuff on. I used a whole lot of different techniques. I used foam brush, I used a rag, I used the palm of my hand, all of which didn't give me the effect that I wanted. It was too hard-lined, if that's the right word. I don't know what other word to use. It was too many edges. So I went a little nuts and just started crazily throwing Windex drops over it and just taking the palm of my hand and just brushing it. Then with a foam brush, tapping it, and a rag until I got what I thought looked like a good result, which, if I do say so myself, this is coming together extremely well. That white salt buildup or mold or whatever it is a little jarring at first, but it makes sense. It really, really does. So I like how it looks. Now it is time to weather, and really that is where the fun starts. If you can't tell, I love to weather. It brings everything to life so much more than anything else. And when it comes to weathering, I always go with the tried and true burnt umber, black, and pavement. It gives just the greatest mud dirt color you can possibly think of. I've tried other ones, but that is a collection. Burnt umber, main color, black, a touch, and pavement, just a dot or two in there. Mix it together. Be a beautiful dirt. So there you go, the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. What a beautiful prop and a wonderful addition to my collection. My name is OTTERRAK, and this is the Creation Destination.